Hi, I'm Yaakov Katz, and welcome to the Jewish People's Podcast by JPPI. A year has passed since October 7th, and it's hard to accept. It's hard to comprehend that it has been a year since the dark day, the day that Israel and all of us changed forever. It's hard to accept that we are still at war on multiple fronts, and that there still are 101 hostages being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It is hard to accept, but it is also the reality. At JPPI, we thought, what was the right way to commemorate this day on a podcast? We decided the best way was to talk to the regular people, reservists who were called up on October 7th and were sent down south. One wasn't even called up, just went on his own. Everyone to go try and save lives. Asher Guedalia is a veteran of an IDF commando unit who, after hearing the news in the morning of October 7th, went from Jerusalem down south and fought all throughout the day. He didn't know at the time, but his younger brother Yosef, a commander in the elite unit Duvdevan, was also sent down there to fight. Yosef was killed that afternoon, news that Asher would only receive as confirmed 2 days later. I then speak to Omri Erental. Omri usually works in PR. That's where I know him from. And when October 7th happened, he happened to be in Amsterdam, where he was with his nephew for a soccer match. His unit was called up, and he got on the first flight he could back to Israel, landing Monday night, and joined his unit Tuesday morning. They trained and went into Gaza, where he fought for months until he was shot in the face by a Hamas terrorist. Asher and Omri are both real-life heroes who each have a unique story with a unique perspective 1 year later. You'll want to hear them. Asher Guedalia, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to start, I guess, from the beginning. October 7th, Simchat Torah. Where does it catch you and what happens?
So thank you for having me. On October 7th, Simchat Torah, we are in Yerushalayim. We're living there, me, my wife, 2 kids, and we have a family davening at an uncle, a cousin that we do every year. And we're all in the evening going our shuls, dancing with the Torah, coming back, meals, and preparing for the next day to all join the rest of the family, cousins, siblings, and daven together. And at 8 a.m., I wake up from the sirens, and I think it was actually 8:15 maybe. And right away, I check my phone and I realize I'm in reserves, and our reserves group was being called up immediately. So right away, I tell my wife, okay, actually, he cannot come to shul. See you later. And I take my car and I just drive down as fast as I can down to base. I collect one of my friends on the way, and another friend that I drive with him every time, he wasn't answering his phone. So, because again, we weren't in some kind of reserve, ready for action, quick response force or anything. We were, people didn't even have to keep their phones on if they didn't want to. I just was kind of used to having it on from when I was in the army before. So I'd usually keep it on Shabbat for cases like this. And anyways, we get down south right away, grab our gear, and prepare to just head. And the whole way down, we're trying to figure out what's happening. At first, there's sirens in Jerusalem, and we understand this can easily be war. And whenever there's war, even if nothing's going to happen, you get the base, you get ready. They tell you, this and this is happening. Be prepared. So that's obviously the first response. But slowly, we start seeing the rockets hitting around, like the smoke from all the nearby villages. And at some point, the Telegram videos start coming through, and I remember actually in base while I'm getting my vest ready, a friend shows me the video of in Sderot of the terrorists getting out their cars there, shooting people on the street, and that's when I first realized, okay, it's very bad. I think it was actually a video that they were dragging the soldier into one of their cars or something. I understood, okay, hostages inside Israel, very bad. Kind of like another switched over there, even though the whole way I was really driving as fast as possible, which I'm in retrospect thinking every minute counted down there. And really the speed of how fast you can get your gear, your gun, and get down there was very, very important. So
So you get your gear, you get your gun, and then where do you go?
So the first place we're heading is to just down south. At the moment, I actually don't even know where I'm going. I just get in. There's a commander. He knows what we're doing. I'm in charge of getting my machine gun and being ready. And we get to Route 232. We get to one of the junctions there. We're coming from.
Just for our listeners, 232 is the main road along the border where all the kibbutzim are pretty much located. Right.
Right, and that's what they called Kvish Damim, like the blood road, because that was the road that basically it's parallel to Gaza, and they just took over the entire thing and massacred everyone in the road. But we were it's around 10 or 11 in the morning at this point when we're already down south with the gear where we need to be, and we reach one of the junctions, and at the junction so the whole way there's police. They don't let people continue. When you're IDF, you obviously can keep going. And when we get there, we see a few soldiers, a bunch of bodies. The bodies where we started seeing them on the way, like on the roads leading up to 232. But we just keep moving forward. There's not much to do. And once we get to the junction with 232, that's where there's 15 terrorists in ambush, and they were just there from the morning. And their job was to get there and make sure no IDF forces make it to the kibbutzim, because they analyzed the maps and they knew that if they stop this junction, they're gonna hold back a bunch of forces from getting to the kibbutzim, and that's exactly what they did. So the first kibbutz we were supposed to get to, we couldn't. We ended up being stuck at the junction fighting for around an hour and a half. And they had over there everything. They had automatic weapons, RPGs.
How many guys were you? How many soldiers were you?
We were around 30, if I'm not mistaken.
How many were they?
They were 15. It turns out to be around 15. And when we get there, they're already in place. They see us first. They're the first ones to. Well, we see the soldiers in the body, so we automatically understand. And the soldiers that are there, there's a few, 2 or 3 still left there, and they told us exactly enemy on the other side of the road. Get off. I think actually I just spoke to the driver yesterday of one of our cars. He said that he started seeing bullets hitting right in front of him on the road. He understood, and then he pulled over to the left in front and back of a big tree, and that's when we all got out. It's under some kind of exactly an area where they couldn't exactly see us. And anyways, we get out, we try to understand what to do. I get out with the machine gun. I actually hand it over to one of the soldiers there who only had a pistol. I go to my rifle. I happened to bring both just because it wasn't really so clear what's happening. And I get into position and start shooting across the road to the other side where they're there. They're just hidden very well under some kind of you can say the road is a bit higher from where they are. They're a bit under the level of the road, so they're managing to shoot us accurately and also under good cover. And anyways, we're managing the fire from there. And at this point, we split up. One force heads south to try to get them from around, and we stay there to give the cover fire. And our commander takes the snipers. He moves them to the northern side of the road, so we're trying to surround them and take control of the situation. And he puts the snipers on 2 sides of some boulder over there, and they start trying to find these enemies. And I was speaking to one of the snipers a few days ago, and he was saying how frustrating it was that he sees the hits. They're hitting his the wall right in front of him, and he sees the hits just getting closer and closer, and he cannot see them, not through the sniper rifle, not with the telescope. And anyways, they were prepared. They were very prepared for this. And at some point, one of our commander peeks out to understand what's happening, and he gets shot in the upper body, and he falls right away. And one of the snipers is a medic. He starts treating him, and our second commander, the one under him, is actually a good friend of his, and they have a short conversation, and our commander loses consciousness pretty quickly and ends up being killed, but we don't know it yet. At this point, I'm on the other side. I feel a little useless because I'm in the area where we can't see them so well and they can't see us so well. So in parallel, without even knowing what happened on the other side, I just decide to run to the other side where the snipers were and see if there's anything to do, because I did see someone lying there. It wasn't clear if it was from the morning already. We've already seen a bunch of bodies. It wasn't clear who's getting killed now and who's already been lying for a few hours. And once I get to the other side of the road, I see it's our commander, and we bring back our car. We try to save him. We're not sure if we could, but we do what we can. And I get on, I pull him up, and I get on with another medic, and we start heading towards the Mada in Ofakim. And on the road, we're calling, trying to get a helicopter, maybe. We don't really know what's possible. Looking back, there were no helicopters. Not definitely not to take one soldier when the kibbutzim were being massacred, and they were needed everywhere. So we ended up dropping him off in Ofakim, where he was pronounced dead. I called back to the unit, and I told them that our commander was killed, and we get back to the junction. By the time I get back, the second force, I told you there was two over there at the junction fighting. So the second one that came from south to surprise them, happened to actually surprise them. And they said that when they got to the terrorists were not even facing them. They were busy shooting our direction. And they eliminated the 15 terrorists over there. And we get back on the vehicles and we head to the next place.
So you basically they opened up the road to be able to move on.
Yeah, so the road was closed. There were a lot of forces there, and I have to tell you, one of the things that during October 7th itself, you're going through a lot, and the real feeling for me, at least, is just like video game mode. There's the amount of bodies you're seeing and the amount of crazy situations you find yourselves in, and it feels very disconnected and very like, just grab your gun, do what you have to do, and win any way possible. Not a lot of more than that. But after that, I was actually trying to think a lot. What were we thinking? At what stage? What kind of decisions could we have made differently? And we had a day where we went back down to that same junction and we went through the exact battle. And then I remembered actually the feeling of October 7th, which was for me, from my perspective, being a reservist, getting down there around 10-11, you see soldiers in a lot of places. And like we get to the junction, there's soldiers there. We're sent to a different kibbutz. A few minutes later, there's soldiers there. We get to the Nova Festival, there's police there. Like, it's just scattered. There's a mess. No one knows exactly what's happening.
There's no command and control?
The command and control either doesn't exist or exists high up, a few levels above you, and is not connected to what's happening down low, and it does not understand. Only at around 4 or 5 p.m., I think really the command and control starts getting, and I think that's also what the IDF is going to say in all the different reports, but it starts really getting under control, and things are divided up, and people know which units are taking what. I think until 4 or 5, and definitely at 10, 11, 12, which is the hours that we're there first, there's no command and control. Like,
I got to ask you though, Asher, because what strikes me with there's a lot of stories, right? And your stories, wow. And thankfully there are a lot of people like you who saw something happen, picked up their phone, didn't get called up, understood that they needed to go. Like, if we didn't have people like you who did that, the situation would have been much worse.
Definitely. Their opening start was as bad as you can imagine on our side. Like, I just read yesterday one of the reports saying that, you're supposed to at least keep 2/3 of the soldiers on the border, even in Chag, because not in Chag, you have the full Ugda, which is supposed to be there. On Chag, 2/3, I think under half were there. There was no alerts to the soldiers. No one told them, be a little more prepared than usual. And you know how it is for a soldier, being 3 years down in Gaza, it's usually quiet. It's not easy to always imagine October 7th is happening. And just that little extra heads up would have been a huge difference maker. It didn't happen down south for whatever reasons. I'm sure there's good ones and bad ones, but it didn't happen. And their opening start was the worst we can imagine. And if it wasn't for really enough quick response forces getting down there and just holding them back, then they'd be spreading. They had plans, to get to Kiryat Gat, Beersheba, Ashkelon, and they could have done much, much, much more damage. At the end of the day, the response was crucial and made the difference. It made the huge difference in winning. And I think another thing a lot of people don't understand when they always think about, where was the IDF and the kibbutzim? The point is, until 8 or 9 a.m., the terrorists they conquer the kibbutzim. The kibbutzim are completely controlled by a terrorist. The IDF is not built to bring quick response forces and recapture what hundreds of terrorists have taken in 20 places in parallel. So once they capture it, and they take over the roads, they take over the junctions, they put their machine guns, their RPGs, they shoot anyone coming by. You have to fight back, and fighting back like you saw for us. So we would have been 2 hours earlier in the kibbutzim if it wasn't for them already capturing being there before us, right? And if we would have gotten the heads up, we'd have been there at 7 or 8. even if the heads up was very light and very late, we would have been there 7 or 8. Instead, we get there only after they start shooting at us each separately.
So after 232 is opened again, you come back. Which kibbutz do you guys go to?
So it's not that 232 is open; it's that specific junction is
That
open.
specific junction. Okay.
Yeah, we had to Re'im. Next, that was the kibbutz where we were sent to, and throughout the day, it also wasn't clear. At the beginning, we were sent to one kibbutz, and then they tell us actually, that kibbutz, and we're driving there, and then again it changes because they understand something else. So the whole day is changing, and I kind of went over my WhatsApp, talking to other soldiers from our unit in different places, and I see that I was always telling them we're going there. No, actually, we're going there, and it did change out. But anyways. Also, I think for us it was a little unique. We ended up being in a lot of kibbutzim. I think we were in at least 5 or 10 kibbutzim throughout the day, because we were just driving on that 232. All day we were also out in the forest looking for people from the parties. We had a pretty long day of just being in a lot of places. But when we get to Re'im, our task is to join the other force and help in the battle over there. And once we make it through Re'im and clear the way through, we make it to the other force, and they tell us actually it's under control, so you can head to your next place. So in Re'im, we managed to clear through the kibbutz, make it to the end of the kibbutz, to the western side where the terrorists still had control of a few houses there, and then we head out. And the next place we're sent is to the area of Be'eri. So we drive into that area, and we make it to the entrance to Be'eri, and then they tell us to go around. At the end, there's a situation also in between where we're driving through the Nova Festival, and we see everything over there, and there's police there. There's a few survivors that start coming out, but also it seems like the damage has been done, and the police already have it under control, and we're headed to the next place, and the place is already on fire. And you see that's the first point where I understand the magnitude of the attack, because at the beginning you think it's dozens of terrorists, and then maybe it's hundreds, but that's when you're like, hey, thousands it's not crazy when you see that much, after all we've seen, and I'm talking about like 10 kilometers south of this, or 5 kilometers south. So we're just seeing it throughout the entire south.
So I want to ask you, your brother Yosef at this time, where is he?
So he is supposed to meet us in davening in the morning. He is in Keva, so he's anyways in service.
He's a career officer.
Right. And he was supposed to, at 1 in the afternoon, be in an operation in Yehuda v'Shomron anyway. So yeah, in the West Bank. So in the back of my mind, that's where he is, because that's what he told me on October 6th when we were playing basketball in Beit Shemesh. He told me tomorrow I'm doing this and this, and that's why I knew I was gonna see him only in the morning on a Simchat Torah. But throughout the whole day, that's kind of in the back of my mind. He's there, but turns out, obviously, he was called up, and he actually makes it there before he's completely called up. He understands that he is needed down south. He heads to base, and they are sent to Kfar Aza, the Duvdevan unit. And he gets to Kfar Aza. I think
he's a platoon commander in Duvdevan at this stage.
He's a drone warfare specialist. So he basically put together the technologies, and he's been doing high-tech meetings, and ever since. So I'll go a little back, but basically when he finished training, around a year and a half of training, they wanted to reopen or grow the drone unit within Duvdevan, the drone subunit, and they chose him to come and take that task, and he did it exceptionally well. And at some point they realized that they're not doing any operation without the drones, because how important they are. And he's dealing with indoor drones, outdoor drones, all different kind of drone technologies, the drones that blow up, the whatever it is. And on October 7th, he goes down with the drones, and he is joining it's a convoy of 4 armed vehicles that are heading down to Kfar Aza to help over there with with forces that have already been sent first, and have already many casualties, and already from the Divan, a few were killed already. And when they get to Kfar Aza, it's around 11, and the first thing they do is they get in, they put up the drone sees what it sees. He reports there's like 40 terrorists, whatever it is, and At some point, the drone falls because of signal interferences that our Air Force was doing, because they also had these kind of drones. So he becomes just a normal soldier, and once they're there, they get into the battle. They take out the soldiers that have been killed and been injured, and they go back in. And the second time they're in, they head to the center of the kibbutz, and over there they meet a policeman where he makes it from around 9 or 10 in the morning, and he's there for 3 hours waiting next to another guy who joined, and he's just a civilian who joins the battle with his own personal gun, or takes his gun from someone else, whatever. Everyone is just managing weapons, whatever they can, taking from injured people, taking from killed people. So that's kind of what was happening. So there's a guy. So the situation is like this: it's 1 in the afternoon. It's the middle of Kfar Aza. There's a policeman there, 3 hours waiting for backup. There's 2 guys on the roof over there sniping down. It's also reservists, which head down south pretty fast, head into Kfar Aza, and climb up on one of the roofs there, and they're sniping down the terrorists, which are a few lines of houses back deeper in. All these stories, you'll be able to find them also on YouTube or whatever. People have been interviewing about them in documentaries. So there's the snipers in Gaza, there's the policeman with a body camera, and then from that body cam at 1 in the afternoon, you see the vehicle approaching, and Yosef and his guys get out, and they give cover fire. They take this guy back who's injured, and he's got 2 shots in his chest. They put him in the vehicle. Yosef treats him. Yosef's actually carrying him in the vehicle. In the video, you can see Yosef from the body camera of the policeman carrying him into the David. It's like a Land Rover. It's not that big. 4 people, and they managed to squeeze a few more guys in, the injured guys and whatever. And Yosef's treating him inside the vehicle, and there's another civilian in the house where they're fighting on that corner of, which hears them speaking Hebrew, and he understands it's the IDF, and he asks to come with, and they manage to squeeze him in too. So there's another guy they save over there, and they bring him out, and they take him out of Kfar Aza. They send him to the hospital. This guy that they saved ends up making it minutes before he would have been dead. He's 2 weeks in he's being ventilated, you would say, like Mordam Munsham. He's
intubated and sedated. Yeah.
Yes. And then he wakes up, and now he's completely fine. He made it to the latest memorial we did for Yosef. He made it to, and he spoke in front of everyone, and he basically told everyone that.
So Yosef manages to save this guy's life, and then he goes back to fight, and then what happens?
And he goes back in, and this is just one life that he saves, because and the other guy, the civilian that was in the house. But what's extreme about this situation is it's on video, the entire thing. The guy comes, Yosef was carrying him, like, we can see it. We don't have to only imagine it or hear about it. Anyways, they obviously head right back in, and this time they head to the younger generations area, which is on the most western side of Kfar Aza.
That's like a dorm area for young people who live there. Right. They got hit very hard in that area,
because that's the
western side of the kibbutz.
Right. And until the time where Yosef and his guys come in, then that place is just being massacred, and hostages are being taken. Yotam has been taken from there at 10 or 11, and Yosef makes it there at 1 and a bit. And they're fighting over there, and they're shooting terrorists from point blank range. They're surprising them around the corners. They're really pushing forward. They're not holding back. They're not showing any signs of fear or hesitation. Even though I'm sure, being also a soldier who fought down south, I'm sure they knew what they were doing and the dangers of what's happening. But they did what they had to do. And at some point, they see an RPG and a Kalashnikov on the ground, and this is around the fence, around the gate where the terrorists broke in from, and they head towards it to collect it, and then they're surprised from the left by an RPG 5 meters away from one of the houses on their left side, and the Jeep gets hit, and it starts burning from inside, and they manage to get out. And once they get out, they're shot at, and there's grenades thrown at them. And after the second grenade is thrown, Yosef sees a grenade and he shouts grenade. And then they both, him and his buddy, they both run to take cover, and they're running towards Aza now. It's like towards the gate where the terrorists came from. And at some point, his number 2 sees some kind of sand dune on the side, and he decides to jump behind it. So he turns right, takes a sharp right, and Yosef he loses contact from. And then they shout to him, Guedalia, Guedalia, and the commander of those four guys, so Orush, he was commanding these four guys in this vehicle. He says to this other guy who was Yosef's number two, he says, Guedalia nafal, like he fell, continue battle, move forward. We're not looking back. He must have seen something, and what happens now is the terrorists are trying to surround them, and they're shooting the terrorists and managing to kill them off. And then they take back and they go to the sand dune, and there three of them are there, and they're trying to figure out where Yosef is now when it's a little quieter. And at some point, the commander gets on the radio. He's trying to bring more forces, and as he's on the radio trying to bring more forces, he gets shot by a sniper, and he's killed too. And that's why we also don't know exactly what happened with what he saw when he said that Guedalia when Yosef fell. And now there's two guys left. One of them's injured from the grenade. One of them is still okay, but they're both kind of sure they're going to die. And they managed to bring in, at some point, half an hour later, another force, which is able to take them out. And but they don't manage to find Yosef. And later on, a drone is sent in by one of Yosef's friends from the same subunit of drones. And it's the 400 team, and the drone, it doesn't know exactly what it's looking for, but he recognizes Yosef all of a sudden, and he reports back that he sees Yosef. And then they understand, they connect kind of the story, because there was a little bit of miscommunication. Some people knew they were looking for a soldier, some people didn't know whatever it was. So the commanders send in Golani with the APCs, and they get in there, and they battled the terrorists who were still swarming in the area. And they run them over, take Yosef, and they recognize him by his tzitzit right away, because a lot of terrorists, they also dressed up into soldiers in order to fool and make a mess. So they were able to recognize him from his tzitzit right away. They collected him and they brought him back. And this
when do you hear Asher about Yosef?
So meanwhile, exactly now around 4 p.m. again, in the back of my mind, he's in whatever, Jenin or whatever, and I am not in Re'im anymore. I'm probably in like a different kibbutz somewhere, or just out in the field, in whatever task we're sent. But I don't know what's happening just a few kilometers away from me, and I could have very easily been there also. I have people from my unit who have been sent to Kfar Aza, and we just happened to not be there. I sometimes think about the situation where I would have been able to be there, but it didn't turn out that way. And I get back to base in the evening, and I call my house and I tell them that I'm okay, and that it's kind of crazy down south, and they're obviously going to hear about it more, but I don't think they can imagine exactly what's happening. And I don't hear about Yosef, but also I have a bunch of people from my unit that were killed, and I'm figuring out about it slowly, and that's what I'm really thinking about and busy about. And the next day, at around the afternoon, all of a sudden, I check the news and I see that a soldier from Duvdevan has been killed. It turned out to be his commander, the one that I saw on the news. And I didn't know it was his commander at that point. It wasn't his full-time commander. It was just his commander during that day. And I right away text him and I say, hey, what are you guys up to? What are you guys doing? And I see that there's no answer and that his phone's off. So I call home and I say, hey, did Yosef call? And they tell me no. And I say, okay. And that's already very strange to me, because I knew that you definitely call home after a day like that. And okay, I didn't exactly know. Maybe there's still soldiers out there still fighting. Maybe he's still busy. I don't know, whatever. But I start calling my friends into the divan, and some of them don't answer by the phone even. Some of them are answering me with all these kind of stories that I myself knew from the other side of the phone, because my friends were, killed, and we had the same situation in our unit where people were trying to figure out what happened to their.
You could tell that they were just buying time.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're not completely. If I'd go back now and think about it again, then obviously I would have just gone to the hospitals, gone to places, looked for him. But back at the time, it was just so much mess, and also in a way you have hope, and in a way, whatever. And also we were sent to the next task, and it just felt like I should just continue doing what I'm doing and wait for the news. That's hopefully good news. I'm still trying to be optimistic, but I have the worst possible feeling that you can have. I have at this moment, and we head up north this time to the border, because they were expecting maybe something from there. And throughout the night, I don't want to sleep because I just know that like it's going to be the worst thing to wake up in the morning the next day. And I actually have nightmares about Kfar Aza and a Jeep getting an RPG because I did hear some kind of someone telling someone about something, and then the story started connecting to me, and I just didn't know where he was and what was happening. And then on the way back down south, the next day, I stop at a funeral of my friend, and I'm at the funeral, and I don't even know if Yosef, where is he? Is he in the sky? Is he down, like still fighting? It's very strange. And then I get a call from my cousin who's also in the divan, and he tells me that like 99%, he obviously he knew, but he wasn't allowed to tell me because very strict rules in the army about this. So he tells me like, yeah, basically don't keep fighting, get home. 99% that he's either injured or killed, and situation's not good. And I don't know what to do because I can't go home because my parents don't know, and I'm not gonna just sit there and make faces, and I can't go to base and just wait for my parents to call me because that's also not a good idea. And I don't know, and I'm thinking about to go to hospitals. At some point, I just call my friend and do the van. I say, look, I know, so just tell me when to go home because otherwise I'm just gonna tell them myself, or I'm just gonna go to hospitals to start looking. And then they end up managing to get me to come together with the people from the army that tell over.
Notify.
Yeah, then notify. And also that was a whole story, managing to pass over the message when everyone is going on walks.
So,
And
I mean, I don't want to get technical, but this is already October 9th when this happens?
yeah, exactly. This is Monday night already. So it's
Wow.
October 9th, yeah.
So your parents only find out, and his widow Sinai only find out Monday night that Yosef has been killed.
Yeah, yeah. And until then, the truth is, if you're not in the army and involved in it, you can really believe that they're still fighting, and the soldiers are all there, and they don't have phones, and that's what they've been told. So by people, so they weren't like they were trying to be optimistic. It wasn't like they were just sitting there waiting for something to come.
No, for sure.
So
Sure. I want to ask you, I mean, we're talking basically on October 7th. It's been a year to the English date, the Gregorian date of when you lost your brother, when you made that decision to go down south. We're a year later into this war. I mean, you've continued to fight since then. You served in the reserves, and you look back. I mean, I can only imagine. I can't even imagine what must be going through your mind.
yeah, I don't know, a lot of things. I got to tell you, maybe that's the first thing that comes to mind when I say when I don't know, October 7th to me. And I thought about this pretty clearly. I kind of cleared it in my head a few days ago that there's two completely separate things in my head right now. There's October 7th, which is one thing, and there's Yosef and his life and my life with him, which is a whole nother thing. And like losing Yosef to me is, that's on the 11th month and on the 12 months and through all, and his birthday and whatever, and through the family. And that's when I'm there, and October 7th to me, I don't even, it's not even about Yosef for me, and that might sound a little bit extreme, but to me, it's about first of all, the enemy trying to eliminate us, and us finally having the opportunity to make sure that never happens again. And that's why, to me, the most important thing on October 7th is not to, I don't even plan to go to any tickets, any
Ceremony.
and yeah, no ceremony. I'm not going to be watching any of this. I don't like to see all these. What I'm most interested in is, I want the government and the IDF to make October 7th become the day that we won this war against Hamas, that we eliminated Hamas, that Hamas made its final mistake. And you know what? If Hezbollah also, as we've been seeing the last few weeks, then even better. And if the Iranian regime also, then even better. I'll take all three if I could get it. And that's, to me, October 7th. And just like the independence war of Israel, that's our Yom Ha'atzmaut. We celebrate that day. That's our biggest celebration of the nation and the country. And we did not open that war either. And we were attacked, and many, 6,000 people were killed in that war, and a lot were killed also in the opening attacks, children, women. But how did it end up being? It ended up being their Yom HaNakba, their catastrophe day, and our victory day. And that's what I'm hoping that October 7th is going to be, because what they're trying to do is make October 7th be the day, the uprising day, and the day of resistance, and the day that they, and that we cannot let that happen. That's what they're trying to turn. All when I see it as a brother of a soldier, and I think it's very different also, because I think a family member of someone from the kibbutzim, it's very hard to speak the way I am maybe, but as a brother of a soldier who went down there to make sure that they do not get what they tried to get, and their plans fail, and that's what he lived for and stood for and fought for to death, then that's what's important to me. So that's what I also, it's important for me to keep doing. So to me, that's October 7th. And that's why I'm happy to see that the IDF right now down south is clearing northern Gaza, as it seems. From what I've been seeing, at least they're doing some kind of operation there. And up north, we're not holding back. And with Iran, we're not holding back. So that's what I want to see on October 7th of 2024. That's what I've been, begging the government and whoever I've been meeting from anywhere.
Sure, Guedalia, I want to thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your story, Yosef's story, and thanks for everything you've done and do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Omri, it's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us for this October 7th episode. And I thought we'd start just your story as an IDF reservist, but where were you on October 7th? How did this all catch you a year ago?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me, Yaakov, and thank you for listening to us, everybody. My October 7 was starting actually in Amsterdam. I was with my nephew on a vacation. We flew to see Maccabi Tel Aviv's football match. And October 7, we were there in Amsterdam. And I started getting phone calls and text messages from everybody in Israel asking if I'm okay and what's going on. And I didn't knew what's happening, so I went to the news, and then I saw this massive attack on Israel, and I started to see that the family is okay, that my kids are okay, and then with all the chaos, I searched for a flight back to Israel. It took me 2 days to find the flight back to Israel. The IDF already recruited me, and my commander waiting for me to come to join them, and they were already recruited. So I came only on Monday evening. Tuesday morning, I went to the army for 3 weeks of training. And then in the end of October, we entered Gaza in the first ground attack.
The first ground offensive. So your unit in the reserves was called up, but you were in Amsterdam. You had to get on a flight, find your way back, and then you joined them on Tuesday morning. And what were those first? I'm just curious, as you were training, like what were those first few weeks like? We pretty much as a country knew what had happened. We knew the scope and magnitude of the massacre, even though there was always more stories that kept coming in. What was it like being in the IDF training for what you knew was going to be a ground offensive during that period?
Well, it was very difficult, I must say, because I'm a grown man. I'm 37 years old. I'm not used to fight for forever. My last war was in Tzuk Eitan 10 years ago, and the first one was in the Second Lebanon War in 2006. So I'm not that I'm doing training once a year, but I'm not that trained to go to enter Gaza. But the IDF was very serious with that, and they did us training for 3 weeks for every scenario that can happen. Really, we trained with our armed vehicles, and we trained by foot, and we did a lot of training just to be as much as prepared as you can to enter Gaza, but still you cannot be prepared for that. It's something that on my worst dream, I haven't thought that I will see this kind of things in Gaza, because
What was it like? So describe for us, you entered Gaza quite in the beginning of the ground offensive.
yeah.
What I mean, you have a couple of kids. What was that like? You mentioned you're 37. I can't, and I'm about 10 years older, but I can't imagine what that would be like. I mean, you're going in, you're leaving kids at home. Obviously, there's a war and you have to fight, but this is not there must be a lot going through your mind.
A lot going through your mind. First of all, it's something like you on your work days, you go to the work, you go back home, you do whatever, and then you go back to be 18 years old with a weapon, with the military uniform, with the guys, with all of the one side the jokes and the other side the seriousness of doing whatever it takes to get in, doing all of the preparedness as you can do. But when you enter in, it's something like you're 24/7, always in high alert, the highest that you can, because you don't know where and when they're gonna attack you, and it's not just 360, it's 720, because it's 360 and 360. So you need to look all around you, on the ground, on up, with the drones, and of course with the snipers that can attack you. And every day something that goes on. It's not like when you enter and that's it, you feel okay. Every day we have friends that injured from snipers or killed from snipers, or
Bombs, explosives,
yeah, but מטענים, סליחה.
explosive devices. Yeah.
Explosive devices that can attack you, and booby trapped houses. One of my best friend was seriously injured when he entered a house that was booby trapped, and there were five. Three was seriously injured, one was killed, and the fifth was luckily the last one standing behind, so he was just like not that serious injured. But it happens everywhere. You don't know where it's going to be, and you're high alert 24/7 all the time.
Is it, I mean, just if you could describe for us a little, I mean, I think it's difficult for people who are not in combat to understand what that means, but you're talking about this high level of alert, this high level of vigilance. You're always on, you always have to be careful, but you guys are moving through homes, right? You're not just always out in the open. You're inside homes.
Yeah.
You have to check that the homes aren't booby trapped, of course. And you just described what happens when one of them is. But are you seeing Hamas, or are the Hamas fighters in the tunnels and on the roofs and in homes? You're not, are you actually spotting them with your own eye?
Well, you cannot actually spot them on your own eye because they're always hiding. They're hiding in the tunnels. They're hiding in houses. They're hiding in the rooftops. The snipers are there, but you sense them. You always sense them. You always sense that they are there. And our job, we're military engineers. So military engineering is the first unit that enters. Everywhere you go, we're the first. Us and the Shirion,
The
the
armored
tanks,
corps.
the
Yeah.
armored corps. Yeah, we're the first ones that are entering to the to every place you go, and it's scary, and it's good that it's scary, because when you're scared, you're keeping your high level of alert, so it's okay. But still, when you enter a house, one of the times we enter a house and you find a sniper rifle, you find Kalashnikovs, you find booby traps, you find small kids with pictures of small kids with RPGs on their on them, and yeah, on the shoulder, and it's something that you cannot realize the amount of hatred that they have, and because you know the amount of hatred that they have to you, so and you know that they're not like eye to eye contact fighting with you, they're always hiding. You always need to be super alert to fight that, it's more difficult than other like wars that we know from TV
even when
or
you're
history.
sleeping, so even when you're sleeping, you're not really sleeping.
You're not really sleeping. No.
Mhm.
First of all, you have every 15 seconds something that happens around you. You always hearing bombs and shooting and whatever. Always something that 24 hours, and you're not really sleeping. You sleep with your uniform, and most days you also sleep with our
Vests.
vests. Yeah, with the vest. So you're not really sleeping. You're sleeping like an hour and a half, and when your other guy is keeping you, and then we switch. You're not really sleeping, and only when you get home after 2 weeks for 24 hours, so you go to sleep like 12 hours, and also to get shower.
Omri, when you're in there, I mean, I'm curious. When you're obviously you're busy, you're thinking, you're on alert, but is fear part of it as well?
Yep, always.
Always.
If you're not fear, you cannot do your job correctly. You need to be a bit fear. You need to have this amount of fairness to get the alert. Otherwise, the hubris will attack you, and then then where the real problems are going, when you're not afraid.
So take us for a moment. This is like the end of October, November. You're in Gaza, November and December. You're doing these operations, right? You get out at some point for a break in between?
Yeah, you get out every couple of weeks for 24, 48 hours to get shower, to meet the family, the kids, to bring new clothes, and then you're going back. Like, there's nothing you can do every time. And when you go out, someone else is inside. So you also when you're out, you're not really out. That's something that I felt.
It's hard to
From
disconnect.
Yeah, from October 7 until I think until today, actually, you're not really out. The thing that you feel there comes with you. I remember it was an Eretz Nederet
It's like a show like
episode.
the Saturday Night Live of Israel. Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live of Israel, and they had an episode. They had one of the guys that is have a PTSD, that is an actor. So they had a מערכון, סליחה.
They had a skit.
The skit, yeah. So they had a skit on Eretz Nederet about a guy that comes back from Gaza to Shabbat dinner. And he sits in the Shabbat dinner, and all of the family around him, and it started there
I
asking him
remember that
questions.
one. It's very
Do you
powerful.
remember? Yeah,
Very
very
powerful.
powerful.
Yeah.
They ask you questions, and they're talking to you, and then they started talking politics
And
between
they start
them,
arguing
and
with one another. Right.
arguing. And it happened to me. I was sitting in a Shabbat dinner with all of my family, and you sit there, and all that, the only thing that you think about is the guys that now are in Gaza, sitting there in the coldness or in rain or whatever, or in the hotness, and you cannot think about anything else, only about that.
Right. Wow. So take us to January. You're
Yeah.
back in Gaza. Where are you in Gaza now?
So I had a birthday on December 18th, and I entered Gaza on December 21st. It was for us. It was the last show. It was the last time that we entered, so we knew like the Chicago Bulls series in Netflix. For us, it's like that's
The
it.
Last
We'll be there.
Dance? Is that the
Yeah, the
idea?
last dance. Yeah, the last dance for us. We
Uh-huh.
knew we have there only 2 weeks,
And you got to get through the 2 weeks.
you got to get through the 2 weeks. We entered, and we just finished Jabalia, and then went to Darj Tufach to find the tunnels that the Nukhbot went in October 7 to Kfar Aza and Nir Am and Nachal Oz. And we have a mutual friend from Nir Am, so for me it was very emotional to enter there. And I thought I'm really fighting for her and for the family. So we went there, it was night, and then in the morning we started scanning for the tunnel shafts. And in the first tunnel shaft that we found, The other guys called us. I'm a deputy commander control guy. So I was getting the radio, and we went there to see the tunnel shaft. It was a very serious one with electricity and with phone lines, and it was a serious tunnel shaft. So we threw a few grenades and waited for the special troops to come and to see what's going on inside.
So,
And
because like just to explain, people, you guys discover it, you throw those grenades in, but you don't go down. You wait for
we
special
don't go
forces
down.
to come.
Yeah.
Special forces go down and explore the tunnel. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, but someone needs to keep that until the special
Right.
forces
Someone
are
needs
coming.
to guard the tunnel as
Yeah.
while this happens. Right.
Yeah. So one of the guys was guarding the tunnel, and I don't know why, but I told him, "It's okay, my man. I'm here. I'll replace you. I'll stay and keep it." And I stayed in for 2-3 minutes, something like that. And it's a sense. Everybody knows that sense. It's a sense that you feel that something is going on beneath you, just something in the guts, that you know that something is going on downstairs beneath your legs. And in really like seconds, I said, okay, I won't get a shot, because if I'll shot downstairs, I don't know what's going on inside, and I'm having a high level for everybody else. So I had a flashlight. I just turn on the flashlight and see what's going on downstairs, because it's dark inside the tunnels. I turned on my flashlight, and the Hamasnik shot me from downstairs, just up from
He
the
was at the bottom
AK-47.
of the tunnel.
He was at the bottom of the tunnel. I was up and looking in to see what's going on. And when I turned on the flashlight, he just shot me.
How far down was it?
4 or 5 meters away. 3 feet, something like that. So he shot me, and I fell down, and I sensed that something's happening here at my jaw. And then I thought, okay, he's gonna hijack me. So I started crawling, just like going away. I crawled for a safe place, and I shot. I was hit. My guys just started shooting downstairs to the tunnel shaft, and I went to a safe place. And when one of my friends that came upon me and looked at me, and I saw the look in his eyes, and I knew, fuck, something's happened. Like he had that look that something is
This
happening.
was serious.
This was serious. I didn't know how bad, but I knew it's serious. So we called the medic, went to the medic, and started checking, and all of my cheek was open. And because of the adrenaline, sorry for the hard describe, but I want people to understand that.
No, it's important.
The adrenaline is so high, so your mouth is dry, and I drank water, and when I drink, all of the water is spilling from my cheek outside.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that you don't understand until you see that or you feel that. But I didn't know what happened then. I thought maybe something hit and went out. And then they took me with a special vehicle for medics outside to the border, and the doctor is checking me in, and he's checking me in, and he's saying something, and he's talking to the other guys and telling him, bring a helicopter urgent.
You're conscious throughout all
conscious. I'm talking to him. I'm wishing to call my family to tell them that I injured, and it was like, no worries, we'll give you a phone call later, but let's check you up. He's checking me up. He looks here at my neck, and he's talking to the guy, and he's telling him, order the helicopter urgent. And when I understand that sentence, I knew, fuck, I really screwed it. Because you don't order a helicopter for one injury guy if it's not something that is like life or death. You understand that, and then you know that something is really wrong happening. but I was on my feet. I could walk. So you can walk, you think everything is okay. I can talk. It's very hurt, but you can talk. And all of this side is hurtful, but it's okay. You can move your hand. So you think you're okay. Um, Only when I got to the hospital to Shaarei Tzedek in Jerusalem, it was 20 minutes flight. They let me talk to my family. I talked to my brother. Like I called him, told him I was injured. I'm in Shaarei Tzedek. Come here. He was like, "What? What do you mean injured?" Like, yeah, I think I got shot in the face. They put me to sleep. Come over here. They will fill you up. And that's it. That's the last thing I remember. Next time it was a bit more than 24 hours later when I woke up. All of my things there. First, I had they put me a tube inside my neck that I can breathe, so I couldn't talk.
Mhm.
So they brought me pen and pencil and paper and pencil that I can write. So I started writing, and I remembered everything. I told my mom, like, I remember it. I remember that motherfucker Hamasnik that shot me in the tunnel. I remember where. I remember the house was on the left of me. I remember everybody. What's with my friends? I didn't know what's going on there. Like, where are they? Um, and it took me a few hours to really understand what's going on, what's happened. And then I got the second gift of my life, and that's the AK-47 bullets that was in my neck. And there it is for the guys. Now is on my neck and not in my neck. My AK-47 was entering from my cheek through my jaw downstairs and went here and was millimeters away from my main artery and the spy anchor. And I
And
was
had it hit the main artery,
2.5 minutes and you're dead. That's it.
Omri, how long from when you were shot till you were at Shaarei Tzedek? How long did that take?
An hour.
An hour. I mean, that
An hour.
itself is pretty amazing that it's so
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, so quick. So quick. The IDF understood in the start of the war that the first thing that they have to do is to have the quickest evacuation as they can. So now they have this amazing armed vehicle called a Dan that it's on 6 or 8 wheels.
Yeah, and they can drive faster.
They can drive like for 90 kilometers an hour, something like extremely fast. I remember when I was in that car, they wanted to put something in my veins, so they started to open my vein. I was like, dude, you're driving 90 kilometers an hour. You don't put anything in my veins now. Like, let's wait. And he's like, no, you're practically almost from life to death. I don't care. And then they enter inside. They're amazing. They know how to walk in this fast
They
and
know
high
how to
level.
put in a needle in your vein while driving at 90 kilometers an hour. That's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
You must have had I've seen pictures of you with bandages even after. How long was the recovery?
Well, the physical ones, okay, I'll start. I'm a live miracle, really, like millimeters away from the main artery. I'm a live miracle. And as I'm a live miracle, my recovery, my physical one, was pretty fast. After 2 weeks, I released from the hospital back home. It's hurtful. It took me 3 weeks to eat my first hamburger, but I succeeded that, and it's took me a bit 3-4 months, just everything to be back as normal, but you're not back as normal. That's the
And I
problem.
must say, I mean, I've seen, we've met a few times. You don't even, especially with the beard, you barely
Yeah.
notice the scar that's there.
Yeah, you barely notice the scar, but
That's
I
the
see
physical
it.
scar, but the emotional
Yeah,
is
and it's
still, you're
connecting.
saying is still there.
Yeah, body and soul is the connection of body and soul is so strong that you cannot disconnect them. They're attached.
So I want to wrap up, but Omri, I want to ask you one last question. When you look back
Sure.
at this last year, I mean, what does it mean to you? You think about the year that was, how we're still, to me, I mean, to me, it's just, how are we still at war a year later
I,
is
I don't
crazy in
understand how the
itself.
hostages are still in the
And the
tunnel.
101 hostages who are still being held. But tell me personally, for you, what is it? What is this year like, looking back now?
Well, a gift, I must say, because with all that I've been through, I had that gift to live for the second time in my life, and to live them when you're an adult and you can understand what everything in this circumstances of everything that you do, and you can do your choices, and it's a gift. So I feel that I'm more alive than I've been ever.
Wow. Omri Erental, thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us your story.
Yaakov, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. Feel free to share and give us a 5-star rating if you'd like. And you can find us always on Mondays and Thursdays on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify.